What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Now, if you guys remember, in the last video, I did tell you the market had put in its low for the year. I told you guys that you should only be looking at call options. I told you guys the market has one direction it's going and one direction only. If you want to do very well for yourselves, you want to position yourselves to take these call options because you're going to make a lot. Now, guys, I have a couple of different brokerage accounts. One with Interactive Brokers, one with Tastyworks, and a couple others. And this right here is one of the trades that I took on TQQQ. I only traded TQQ this week. That is basically the NASDAQ, but it moves 3 times what the NASDAQ does. And I took these call options. As you can see on this trade, made over $11,000 in profit. Overall this week, made over $20,000 in profit. So it was another good week in the books. And it's not just me that made a good amount of money in the markets. It's everybody who is in my Patreon as well did very well for themselves. I told them exactly what they needed to do. I told them you need to look at TQQQ and the reasons why. And a lot of these guys made a lot of money on TQQQ this week just gone. So if you haven't got already, guys, you want to be making sure you're inside the Patreon. The link for that is down below in this video description. Hop in there. Join the guys over there who are doing phenomenally well for themselves. I've been in this game for a long time. When you've been in the game for such a length of time, it becomes easy. It becomes easy to consistently win in these markets. And if you guys aren't already taking full advantage of the markets, you're definitely doing yourself a disservice. The market is the great equalizer. Regardless of what your starting point in life is or what your current position is, you can use the market as a vehicle to better yourselves. And that's what I want to show you guys. Because the market has had a long history and nothing in these markets that we see is new. So when I was telling you guys the market is put in the low for the year, when I was telling you guys the only direction the market is going to go is higher, I was confident in why I said that, because I'd seen that current setup that the market had a week ago many times. So it wasn't new to me. And we're going to see that exact same setup that we saw last week many times into the future. It's inevitable. The market has no choice but to repeat itself. And if you're able to identify and understand these repeated patterns, you can take advantage of it. That's exactly what we did, and that's what we'll continue to do. So make sure, if you haven't already, you hit that top link in the video description, join the guys over the Patreon, and next week you could be up a huge chunk of change like the rest of the guys were. The major headline for this week just gone was it's right here, that inflation has cooled. Inflation rate is in line with expectations. And as a quick 60-second macroeconomics lesson for you guys, if the inflation rate is going to cool, it means that the market is no longer overheated. It means that the overall market is steady. And it means that the Fed can start reducing these interest rates. And we could see an introduction of the reduction in interest rates as soon as within a month's time, and commentary and confirmation of that as soon as a week. So what does that mean? Well, it means that consumers can take on debt much cheaper. It means that they can take out mortgages at a cheaper rate. They can spend. They have access to cheaper capital, which they'll go and spend out. Their businesses have also access to cheaper capital. Means that again they can spend much heavily. All of that is good for the economy, more spending, more activity. All of that is good. The only thing is, this isn't the first time that this has happened. This isn't the first time in history that we've seen a reduction in interest rates. We've seen this many, many times over several decades. The problem is the resulting market reaction to that has sometimes been up, has sometimes been down. Now, because of that, it means that that's useless information if you are trying to use that to make money, okay? Because sometimes the markets have gone up, sometimes the markets have gone down. So how can you use that to your advantage? Well, you can't. But what I want to show you guys today is intel and information that you can actually use to your advantage. Insights into the markets that you can actually produce tangible results from, right? Just like I do every week. And the way to do that is by getting a deeper understanding of the markets and how they're moving from a charting perspective, right? So what we're going to do is I'm going to go through a couple names that are out there in the markets and give you guys, number one, an understanding of where they are, and number two, how to position yourselves to take advantage of them if an opportunity actually exists, which in some cases it doesn't, and in some cases it does. But if you go into the week having that blueprint set of what you should look at, you're going to be able to position yourselves in the best way possible to take advantage of the current setup. Because last week a lot of you guys kind of like listened to my message and you ignored it, didn't really take action on it. He says the market's going to go up. I don't believe him. Oh, the market's bottom. No, it hasn't. It's going to go lower. Or, well, you've seen what's happened. So this right here is your opportunity to rectify the mistakes that you made last week by not taking action, by not taking on board what I said, if that's the case. And in the week coming, actually do very well for yourselves, right? As I said, the market's the great equalizer, regardless of what your starting position is or your current position. You can use the markets to your advantage. And the majority of people existing on this planet don't. They don't understand the power behind it, okay? So how we're going to run this is we want to look at the overall market to set our foundation. And by the overall market, I mean either the NASDAQ or the S&P 500. In this case, the NASDAQ presents a better view of the S&P 500 than the S&P 500 to form a bias. Most people, when they enter into the markets, they have no bias. What does that mean? That means that they take a trade on something. So let's say first stock that comes to my mind, Amazon, right? So they'll jump into Amazon stock without having a view of the overall bias of the market, what the overall market is telling you. As soon as you start forming biases, your win rate shoots up dramatically. Because there's that saying that a rising tide lifts all boats. Is literally perfect for the market. By overall bias, I mean you look at one of these indexes like a NASDAQ or like an S&P 500 that has, 100 stocks in it, 500 stocks, whatever the case may be. That gives you a good gauge of where the markets are going to be going or what the markets are doing. Is it strong? Is it weak? Should I expect it to do nothing? You use that view to then take your positions either on the overall market or on something inside the index. So when it comes to the NASDAQ, what are we seeing? Well, we've seen the NASDAQ push 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days. Okay, so we've seen the NASDAQ push 7 days in a row, which shouldn't come as a surprise because that's what we were expecting. I did tell you guys the market's on for a significant move higher. Why? Because once we get that five leg formation forming, so you get that leg 1, that leg 2, leg 3, leg 4, leg 5. Once you get the completion in that, you're going to see a spectacular move. Those are my exact words. And I think a 7-day push is nothing short but of a spectacular move. So this is how I generated that $20,000 this week. And you can do the same for yourselves, because this isn't the first and the last time we've seen a 5-leg formation. You just need to be prepared for the next time and take action on it. But I'm here to help you with that. So that being said, where is the market going to go next week? What's the next move in the market? Right? Now, most people, what they'll think at this point is they'll start to think, the market has moved up 7 days in a row. The market can't possibly go any higher. It's impossible for the market to go higher now. The market must go lower. We must see the market move down. That's the wrong way of thinking. That's a very amateurish way of thinking. Right? There are levels in the market, the levels of this game. Everybody starts off as an amateur. Everyone starts off as a noob. Then you move up into your intermediate, and then you move up into your advanced. The amateurish way of thinking would be like, the market has to move lower. What you actually want to be thinking is, no, the market is pushed 7 days in a row. I want to find a way to get into this because it's moving higher. So this basically means that you want to be looking at what we call a secondary entry point. So you missed the first entry point, right? So that was last week. Sanky producing videos. I didn't listen to him. Markets moved up higher. I'm a bit of an idiot. But now is an opportunity for me to actually get into this secondary entry point, which is coming. Okay. What we're seeing right now is the market has moved into another area of resistance. So another area where it's going to be battling to go higher or go a little bit lower. Okay. Why? Because this is a level where we've seen impulsive moves from before. Right? By impulsive moves, I just mean the market has moved aggressively from. So that means that it's an area of relevance. If you're able to understand areas of relevancy and areas that are not relevant, again, going to massively boost your win rate. So why is an area of relevancy? Well, because we have had some significant impulsive moves. Look at this move here. And look at this move here. So that shouldn't go unnoticed. So we've climbed right back into that. And on Friday's session, we kind of just hovered around that, didn't do too much. Okay. Bearing in mind next week, we have some Fed meetings and commentary and things like that, which will be centered around the reduction in these interest rates. And the market likes to move off that. It's also good to have an understanding of what makes the market tick and what doesn't. And the market likes to tick based on speculation around interest rates. Because of that, what we could get is a profit-taking event, right? There's a lot of people out there in the markets like myself who have bagged tens of thousands. You could have been one of those. And a lot of them will be considering taking profits now, taking some chips off the table, securing their wins. What that would cause is a natural drawdown, a natural pullback in the markets. All that would do would just open up a secondary entry point for the markets to actually push higher, break through and move like that, where the Nasdaq crosses back above 20,000. That's what you should expect. And that should be like the headline theme. That should be at the top of your mind going into the markets. Right? You always want to have your bias, and you always want to have, all right, what is your theme? What's the headline that I should be expecting? And that is a bit of profit taking. Opens up a secondary entry point. That's my opportunity. There is no better way of taking advantage of an overall market bias than TQQQ. So that trade that I shared with you guys at the beginning of this video, that was on TQQQ. I love trading TQQQ. Why? Because it moves 3 times the amount that the Nasdaq does. So if the Nasdaq's going to move up 2%, TQQQ is going to move up 6%. And in the options world, that's how you start generating these returns of 100%, 150%. That's exactly what we did this week. All right, that's how I made the $20,000 this week. Again, the TQQQ has moved into a questionable position of whether it can move much higher. As a matter of fact, it is the first day in a string of days where the market actually didn't close higher than the previous day. So that's telling you something. That's telling you that the market is probably waiting for something to happen. And that is most likely whatever the Fed wants to say this week. What we should expect is a TQQQ to come in and actually fill this gap down at 64.50. And that will open up one of these secondary entry points. That secondary entry point at 64.50 is where I would start taking my call options. Because you want to understand, once you also understand this concept of secondary entry, once you also understand this concept of optimum entry points, going to massively boost your win rate, going to put you in a position to win and win big. So entry at this 64.50 opens up the opportunity for this thing to take out this resistance level and move right up to 74. That would be a huge move. And that is a very good opportunity. That is working itself right now in the markets. That profit taken, that pullback, people taking chips off the table based off Fed commentary around interest rates, leaves an opportunity for a massive push. The good thing about this market is we've seen some significant breaks of resistance already, which sets the market up for that next push. As a matter of fact, speaking of, remember I told you guys about the 5-wave formation, right? So boom, leg 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We could very easily see that the other direction. So leg 1 has already been completed. Leg 2 should be next week. Leg 3 probably a week before. Leg 4, leg 5, something like that. Yeah. So make sure you guys do take note of that. That's what I expect. That's my expectation. So now we kind of covered the overall market. Right, cool. We got a good basis for what to do next week. All right, thank you. I understand what's going to go on next week. Okay, so yeah, Fed's going to come out and speak. Yeah, they're going to say a couple of things that should, cause a little bit of, noise and chat around the markets. People taking chips off the table. Dog Sankey, taking that 20,000, and other people taking chips off the table. Market's going a little bit red, but we're still in good technical support. That forms that leg 2. That's my opportunity to go long. Yeah, that's the kind of way. If you're thinking like that for next week, you've already won. You already set yourself up for some massive profits. All right, cool. So that's the overall market. I could actually end the video right here, and you guys would be good to go for next week. You'd be good to go. You don't really need much more information than that. But we're gonna go for a couple more names because why not? So let's go through some of these magnificent 7 names. So Apple has printed a string of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 green days. Apple doesn't really present the most optimum opportunity right now, even though we are seeing it kind of move into, again, this level of resistance, right? So it hasn't broken through this peak that it put in August. What was that? 2nd of August. But I expect it to move in line with the rest of the market. So again, pull back, but I would ignore it. But it's just good to see this congruency, right? It's good to see this identical mapping across names that we're seeing right now, I wouldn't trade it. Microsoft is one that I'm looking at right now. It is in the middle of two ranges. Okay, so you see this top line resistance, bottom line support down here. Kind of like halfway. What I would like to see is a bit more of a pullback, maybe down to like 413. Then a push up to that 432 resistance level. And very likely much higher. Okay. Easily we could see this thing go up to 440. Easily. But is it the top trading asset for next week? No, it's not. Google's a little bit in no man's land right now. It's one that I would kind of just avoid until we see some major strength in the name. Again, I'm not looking for anything short. If you're looking to go short, you're going to cause yourself some problems. It's always good to kind of understand what your bias is, what the bias is, what's the optimum side of the trade to be on. The optimum side of the trade to be on for next week is long. The optimum thing to be looking at is call options, even if you know the next move is most likely lower, where we print that leg 2. Because then you want to take advantage of the leg 3, because the leg 3 is going to be more powerful than the leg 2. Okay. Meta has formed this 3-peak situation right now, which again, it's like it causes a bit of difficulty in terms of actually trading this name. So what you're seeing right now is you're seeing a lot of the market in a bit of a difficult position. So whereas last week I came out all guns blazing, go long, go long, go long. Market's printed this bomb. The only move for the market is higher from here. You can see my tone is a little bit different this week. My tone is, coming into a little bit of resistance. Oh, not looking so good. Yes, that's what happens. That's what happens when we complete that leg 1. Okay. Last week before the leg 1, all guns blazing, get in. Now we're like completed the leg 1. Going to set this leg 2, which is a little bit of a push lower, and then once you push that once that leg lower has been printed, you can see I'm going to come out with guns blazing again. I'm going to say go long, go long, go long, because that's going to set up for that leg 3 where you're going to make a lot more money. Well, a lot of money, right? You don't need to make money on the leg 2. You can, but the real win is being in for that leg 3. Out of all of the Magnificent 7 names, Nvidia is the one that looks the best by far. Why? Because they are leading the charge. They're ahead of the rest of the market. You can see that the majority of this market, yes, has this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, I messed that up. Let me try again. Has the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave formation, but most of the market is actually stuck here. Nvidia is different. Nvidia has climbed higher. Nvidia has broken through that level of resistance that the majority of the rest of the market is stuck at. Once that leg 2 completes, you're going to see a very, very, very tasty push up to that 135. So you get profit taken in Nvidia down to around that 117 rather, or 117.50. Yeah, 118, 117.50 sets the tone for a move up to 135. It's always good to know which stocks are ahead of the charge, and Nvidia is most definitely ahead of the charge. Nvidia has broken through levels of resistance, problematic areas that the rest of the market just hasn't right now. So if there's one individual name that I would be going long on, it would be Nvidia. Okay, it would be Nvidia for that very reason. So that kind of completes the Magnificent 7 names. There are a couple others, but we'll just save those. Looking at something like an ARC sets a good basis for the mid caps and the small caps, because there's tons of names involved in here, and this will kind of give you a good sense of what they're doing. Overall, the picture looks problematic from a bigger time frame view. If you kind of extend out a year, there's no major breaks of peaks or anything like that. So it doesn't form the best long opportunity, especially when you've got things like the NASDAQ printing some phenomenal structures and things. But it's good to kind of look at, take a view, because you might get an opportunity. Now, normally I just like trading this from a put perspective rather than a call perspective, because if I'm going to trade calls, I might as well trade calls on the NASDAQ, on the TQQQ. And often when I'm trading ARKK, it's from puts or like small cap names, because they are naturally weaker, and that won't change because nothing's changed. That will only change, right, if I see this peak here get taken out, because then now you've actually set like a new high, and now you've got some serious momentum. But what do I expect from this? I expect this to kind of push lower in line with the rest of the market, and then push a bit higher up to around here. But there's so many areas where it could struggle that it's just not, it's not optimum. It's not optimum. So what I would be inclined to do is I would actually be looking for shorts around here. Somewhere around here, I'd be looking for a short to take this like down here, something like that. Okay. That's kind of like looking into the future. We don't need to drill into any more of these small cap or mid cap names, because you get a good basis. You have a good amount of information already to digest and take with you. But I just want to throw one name out there. This isn't really from a trading perspective. This is just a more of a let me keep this in the back of my mind kind of thing. And that's Uber, because Uber has been printing some very good numbers for a while now. And this thing is standing at 72. Uber over the last 10 years has silently been building an absolute monster in the market. It's building a phenomenal, globally recognized brand with a business that is well integrated into millions and millions of people's lives, and that won't change. And they've built an ecosystem which is just ready for partnerships and integrations with other businesses. So whether that's from Tesla, whether that's from other technology-based software companies, this thing is going to do good things in the future, very good things. And there is no doubt in my mind that Uber will be printing an all-time high. And that could come as early as the end of this year. So that's just something for you guys to keep at the back of your mind, that this is a gem in the markets that has a lot of runway ahead of it, most definitely. This is a well-built, well-oiled machine. Okay, so anyway, guys, that completes the equity markets, right? That gives you guys some good information going into next week. Let's just switch asset classes right now. I want to talk to you guys very quickly about Bitcoin, because Bitcoin hasn't been doing anything for the last week, unlike the rest of the market. However, what we can't ignore is this top line resistance, this dotted line up here that shows that clearly. Basically, what's been happening is we've set this almost perfect structure from March this year, and when you get this perfect setup like this, it often leads to very big things and very, very good opportunities. what you guys should be aware of, even though this is doing nothing right now, and even though there's no move to make because it's just been trading sideways, and it could very easily do that for the next week or two, at some point you are going to see this thing break through above this level, right? So climb into the 70s, and you're going to see this thing move much higher. You can see this thing climb into the 80s. You're going to start seeing, heavy news reporting on Bitcoin. Bitcoin's moved into 80,000 territory, all-time high. And you're going to be thinking, damn, last time I saw this thing, it was at 50. The way to take advantage of this isn't to do anything right now from a trading perspective or anything on any related assets to this. It is to simply have this at the back of your mind. And once this thing crosses above this top line resistance level, crosses above that 70,000, that is go time to be long, because you're going to have so much stored up energy. Every time this thing has hit this top level of resistance, we have accumulated more and more and more of this energy. And once you finally cross above it, you're going to have a big release of it. That big release presents a phenomenal opportunity. Okay, a couple times a year, Bitcoin will be the best thing to trade. That time will come, but that time will come once it breaks through across 70,000. You position yourselves long. You take this all the way up into the 80s, and you could very easily just hold. But right now it's doing nothing, and closer to time we'll speak more about that when the actual optimum entry point actually presents itself. Right now there is nothing to do. But it's always good to have things that are bubbling, things that are just setting up, things that are ready in themselves just at the back of your mind or on a watch list somewhere. So that's just one I wanted to close out this video with. But anyway, you guys have tons of information, tons of intel getting into next week that will no doubt serve you extremely well. So guys, that's the video for today. I'll catch you guys next time.